David Owen, he's Managing Director and Chief European Financial Economist at Jefferies International. Not on the table. That's what they were telling us just before this all kicked off. We'll talk about an elephant in a room.
Well, they have to provide the financing. I mean, at the end of the day, if they don't provide financing now and Greece actually goes into default mode, then it will be a major problem for the system. And as the ECB has warned, the banking sector of Greece, for example, could implode, and you'll have major contagion through the system. So it's all about posturing. They have to, at the end of the day, come through the financing.
Talking about posturing, when you hear those comments from Juncker yesterday and Trichet as well, you do feel as though there is quite a lot of muscular positioning going on as far as Greece and the sovereign debt crisis is concerned.
Well, I think with Greece, I mean, in terms of the fiscal position, there's actually been indications in the first 4 months this year that there's no underlying improvement at the moment in the budget deficit. In fact, things are going in the wrong direction, so I think that's partly where Juncker himself is coming from. I wish, though, he wouldn't say anything. Very unhelpful comments, really. As far as Jean-Claude Trichet is concerned, I think the ECB is now setting policy, obviously, for the region as a whole, which basically means the core. I think it's a policy mistake for them to have raised rates in April. I think it would be a policy mistake for them to raise rates in July or August, but quite clearly he's positioning the market to expect another rate rise in the next few months.
The focus of the meeting is debt, not just European debt. We are a bit entombed by that at the moment. But it's interesting what they were saying about what was happening notably about the United States and how's that going to come down.
Well, again, that's an elephant in the room. I mean, sort of at the end of the day, the US debt dynamics truly look appalling. My colleagues in the US are very concerned about the fiscal position, but there's no sort of will at the moment to deal with it. And at the moment, the US has been growing. Well, okay, the data may disappoint on occasion, but the US is actually recovering.
Very upbeat comments about how growth is now completely sustainable, and they're all very happy about European and global growth, echoing what the OECD said the other day.
Well, I think coming through a banking crisis, and most of the G8 has been through a major banking crisis. At the end of the day, you don't expect the growth dynamics to be particularly positive, maybe for several years after. And the problem is, of course, that most countries in the developed markets had a banking crisis simultaneously. So one can't be too confident it's going to be a strongly sustained recovery at all. And certainly Europe is it's not in a great place at the moment at all.
No, there's a lot of relief going on. At least we're getting some growth, at least from countries like Germany. Also on the table, support for the democracy movements in the Middle East, North Africa. Not necessarily great big promises of financial aid. Yeah,
I don't know how at the end of the day that all this gets financed, but yes, I mean obviously the moves there, from a Western standpoint, all very positive.
Do you agree with Paul Donovan, that clip that we had just before you came on? This is just a waste of taxpayers' money, and nothing ever comes out of a G8 summit.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the G20 is more significant, and that's not meeting until later this year in November. So certain key countries were missing from what we saw over last day or so. But it's very useful for these leaders to get together. So it's not a complete waste of time, though.
No. David, nice to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.